A park bench in Haarlem, Netherlands. A teenage girl with braided pigtails walks up to a woman sitting alone. She looks totally harmless, innocent, like any other kid. She asks one simple question, "What's your name?" The woman answers. Suddenly the girl pulls out a pistol. She looks the woman in the eyes and fires. One shot, dead. Then she hops on her bicycle and simply rides away. Her name is Freddie Overstegen. She's only 16 years old. The woman she just killed wasn't an innocent bystander. She was a Nazi collaborator. She had a list of every Jewish person in the area, names and addresses, ready to hand over to the Gestapo. That list meant certain death for hundreds. Freddie had just saved them all. By the end of the war, Freddie and her sister Truus would assassinate dozens of Nazis. No one knows the exact number. When people asked, Freddie always said the same thing. One should not ask a soldier any of that. This is the incredible story of two sisters who seduced Nazi officers, lured them into the woods, and executed them. Girls who learned to kill in a hidden potato shed. Girls who refused to kill children, even the children of their enemies. Girls who stayed human while fighting monsters. Freddie was born in a small village on a houseboat. Her family was poor, but her mother, Trine, was a fighter. She was a communist who taught her daughters one rule. When you see something wrong, you don't look away, you act. After her parents divorced, the family moved to a tiny apartment in Haarlem. They slept on straw mattresses. They had nothing. But their mother still hid Jewish refugees and political fugitives. Freddie and Truus grew up sharing their beds with strangers fleeing for their lives. They spent their time making dolls for war orphans. They learned early that some things are more important than being comfortable. Their mother told them, if you have to help somebody, you have to make sacrifices for yourself. They never forgot those words. When the Nazis invaded the Netherlands, everything changed. German soldiers filled the streets. Swastikas hung from buildings. Fear was everywhere. Freddie later remembered the terror. The Germans would bang on doors with their rifles. It was so loud the whole neighborhood could hear it. They were always yelling. It was very frightening. But the Overstegen sisters didn't hide. They fought. At night they snuck through the streets on bicycles, covering Nazi posters with their own messages. The Netherlands must be free. They were never caught. Who would suspect two little girls on bikes? Soon, a man named Frans van der Woude, a resistance leader, came to their door. He had heard about these brave girls. He wanted to recruit them. He asked their mother, "Can your daughters join the resistance?" Freddie was 14, Truus was 16. They both said yes, but Frans had to be sure they wouldn't break. He tested them. He showed up at their house dressed as a Gestapo officer. He waved a gun and screamed in German, demanding to know where Jews were hiding. Freddie and Truus didn't cry. They didn't talk. They fought back, kicking and hitting the man they thought was a Nazi. They were ready to die before they betrayed anyone. Frans stopped the act. They had passed. He told them the truth. You'll learn to blow up bridges, and you'll learn to shoot Nazis. Freddie just grinned and said, "Well, that's something I've never done before." Their mother gave them one piece of advice. Always stay human. The sisters were taken to a dark potato shed. There they learned how to use a gun. They learned how to aim, how to stay calm, and how to kill. Their first mission was arson. Nazi warehouses had to burn. The plan was simple. The girls would flirt with the German guards to distract them. While the guards were smiling at the pretty teenagers, the rest of the resistance slipped in and set the fires. It worked perfectly. The guards never suspected a thing. Frans realized these girls were his best weapon. They could go where men couldn't. Their innocence was a shield. But then came the heavy part. Freddie's first target wasn't a soldier. It was a Dutch woman. A traitor. This woman had a list of every Jew in town. If she gave it to the Nazis, hundreds would be murdered. Freddie rode her bike to a park. She found the woman on a bench. She confirmed her name. She pulled the trigger. The woman fell. Freddie pedaled away. Later, she described the feeling. The first thing you want to do when you shoot someone is pick them up. The instinct to help was still there, even after she had killed. The sisters became experts. In the forest, they would go to bars and find Nazi officers. They would flirt, laugh, and eventually ask, "Want to go for a walk in the woods?" The officers always said yes. They'd walk deep into the trees, and there the other sister would be waiting. One shot to the head. They'd bury the body in a pre-dug hole and walk away. Other times they used speed. Truce would pedal the bike while Freddie sat on the back with a gun. They'd ride past a target on the street. Freddie would fire, and they'd keep going. Just two girls on a bike. Nothing to see here. "We always went by bike," Truce said. "Never walked. That was too dangerous." In 1943, a third girl joined them, Hannie Schaft. Hannie was a law student with bright red hair. She had been kicked out of university for refusing to support the Nazis. She was different. She was a planner, an intellectual. Franz tested her the same way. He gave her a gun and told her to shoot a Nazi. She pulled the trigger, but the gun was empty. It was a test. She passed. The three girls became a legendary team. Hannie planned the missions. Truce led the charge. Freddie mapped the escape routes. They were unstoppable. They blew up trains carrying people to death camps. They smuggled Jewish children to safety. They stole ID papers and gathered intel for the Allies. And they kept killing. The traitors, the Dutch collaborators, were the worst. "They were like cancer," Truce said. "You had to cut them out. There was no other way." One day they got a dark order. Kidnap the children of a high-ranking Nazi. If he didn't cooperate, they were told to kill the kids. The girls refused. Freddie said, "We are not Nazis. Resistance fighters don't murder children." They had killed many, but they had a line. They would not become the very thing they were fighting. One afternoon, Truce saw something that broke her heart. A Dutch Nazi soldier grabbed a baby from its family and smashed it against a wall. The baby died instantly. Truce didn't wait for an order. She pulled her gun and shot the soldier dead in the street. "I don't regret it," she said later. "Some things don't need orders." By 1944, the Nazis were hunting the girl with the red hair. Hannie dyed her hair black and wore glasses, but she didn't stop fighting. In 1945, she was finally caught at a checkpoint. They found her gun and her illegal papers. In prison, they noticed her black hair had red roots. They knew they had her. She was tortured for weeks, but she never gave up a single name. Not Freddie, not Truce. On April 17, 1945, just 18 days before the war ended, the Nazis took her to the sand dunes to kill her. The first shot only grazed her head. Hannie didn't flinch. She looked at her killer and said, "I shoot better than you." Then they killed her. She was 24. After the war, Hannie became a national hero. She was given a state funeral. But Freddie and Truce, they were ignored. Because they were communists, the Dutch government treated them with suspicion during the Cold War. The heroes were forgotten. Truce became an artist, making statues to remember the resistance. Freddie tried to live a normal life. She got married and had kids, but the war never left her. She had nightmares. She had insomnia. When people asked for her kill count, she stayed silent. One should not ask a soldier that. Some burdens you carry alone. Finally, 70 years later, the government apologized. Freddie and Truce were given the mobilization. War Cross. Freddie was almost 90, Truce was 91. It was the happiest day of their lives. Finally, someone said, "Thank you." Truce died in 2016. Freddie died in 2018, just before her 93rd birthday. Until the end, Freddie would visit Hannie's grave and leave red roses. Truce's last advice for the world was simple. When you have to make a decision, it must be the right one, and you must always remain human. The sisters killed. They saw things no one should see. They carried that weight forever. But they remained human. They cried after they killed. They spared children. They protected their friends. The Nazis killed millions without feeling a thing. That was the difference. In a world of monsters, Freddie Oversteegen was just a girl with braids and a bike. She wasn't a movie hero. There was no music. Just a girl who decided that some things are worth fighting for. It's believed they killed over 100 Nazis. Freddie never told the exact number, and she never felt sorry for a single one of them. Freddie Oversteegen and her sister, Truus Overstegen, were brave women from the Netherlands. When they were young, they helped the Dutch resistance during World War II. Truus Overstegen lived a long life. She died in 2016. She was 92 years old. Freddie Overstegen died 2 years later. In 2018, she was also 92 years old. Both sisters are remembered as heroes who fought for freedom and justice.